Alongside Shakur Stevenson's fight and Nate Diaz vs Jorge Masvidal, there were a few crossover boxers who made their return to the ring last weekend: FoxTheG and Salt Papi. They were both featured on an event called Social Knockout 3. Now, I haven't heard of Social Knockout 1 or 2, but from what I've gathered, Social Knockout 3 was set in Dubai and sponsored by a crypto coin. That's all I really need to say for you to understand what type of event this was. I'm sure Salt Papi and Fox got a lot of money off the back of some Dubai millionaire pumping money into this event, so that's good at least, but the card as a whole was terrible. I didn't watch the card as it was happening because Social Knockout was exclusive to the EX Sports app, and I wasn't going to spend time downloading this thing and watching the event on my phone. Why would they limit the access to this card by only having it on mobile phones? I understand that they want to promote a new app, but have it available for PC and smart TVs before you roll out and feature a whole boxing card on there. Boxing is meant to be watched either live in the arena or on a TV, not on a phone when I'm in bed. Before we get into the influencer boxers, I wanted to mention that Darren Till also made an appearance on the card. He did fight some guy, and Darren beat him via second round stoppage. That sounds impressive, but his actual performance looked labored and gun-shy. He just didn't look that comfortable in there. Not like he was scared or anything, but as much as he was a good striker in the UFC, he didn't seem as natural in a boxing ring as I was expecting going in. You can chalk that up to ring rust, I guess, but it'll be interesting to see if he can develop his boxing ability as he fights better opponents. The dude Till was fighting complained about the knockout because he hit him behind the head and then a massive brawl inside the ring kicked off. Yeah, it was a mess, and probably not the grand return to combat sports Darren Till was hoping for. Even though Misfits boxing have had their fair share of mishaps, this Social Knockout event really made me miss the production quality and consistency of the DAZN-backed Misfit shows. Going back to Darren Till, I want to see him fight in this crossover boxing world more, as I do believe he has a lot of value, but the overall event, along with the opponent, didn't do him any favors. Now let's move on to the influencers. First off, I'm glad that Mams Taylor and the team over at Misfits allow their signed fighters to compete in these smaller promotions for a nice paycheck. Mams and the fighters know that Misfits have a budget that they need to adhere to with DAZN, and can't be giving out massive paydays as much as they'd like to on Salt Papi and FoxTheG. I'm sure they're doing very well on Misfits, but these sketchy Dubai cards would pay a lot more, I'd imagine. The reason being is that these events tend to have outside backing from some Dubai millionaire that doesn't give a shit on making a return on investment, so they just shell out money to these influencers. DAZN and Misfits are working together as a proper business, so they can't just give a fuck ton of money to non-pay-per-view level stars. But at the same time, I think it's so cool that Mams loans out these fighters and lets them go there and chase these big money fights. It shows confidence in the Misfits brand and how they truly aren't worried about these smaller promotions. So how did the return of Salt Papi go? It was awful from a viewer's perspective because it wasn't a fight at all. Salt Papi went in the ring with some guy that took a total of 4 body shots and then called it quits. You couldn't even call it a beatdown because no actual beating took place. Salt Papi's opponent just got in there for a paycheck and bounced after a minute or so of being in there. I'm glad Salt Papi got paid, had another full training camp to hone his boxing skills some more, but there's nothing new to glean from his performance. We don't know how much he's improved because he threw half a dozen punches and then the fight was over. As for FoxTheG's fight, his opponent actually tried to land a punch, which was nice. Fox started fast, and although the guy he was fighting was giving it the big one, Fox was just going to town on him with swinging overhand combinations. I do wonder if when Fox is met with some resistance, how he will cope, and if his defense will be tight enough when he is trading. Fox does have age on his side, only being about 19 or 20, so any potential bad habits can be trained out of him eventually. I know 19 is a very late age to start boxing for professionals, but for influencer boxing, it's super young and he has a lot of time to hone his skills. Will YouTube boxing as a whole even still be around when he reaches his prime? Who the fuck knows, but the likes of Social Knockout isn't doing influencer boxing any favors. While Misfits are trying to legitimize influencer boxing a bit by having it on a platform like DAZN, bringing in real amateur boxers and MMA fighters, and organizing proper rankings, Social Knockout is just a fucking joke and aren't in this for the long haul. As much as Mams Taylor and Misfits get shit online, you cannot deny that they are really passionate about this emerging crossover boxing space. I mean, they wouldn't invest so much time and energy creating a brand new fucking judging system if they just didn't give a fuck and were in it for quick money. I've certainly had my criticisms about Misfits cards, matchups, etc., but I don't believe I've ever said that they were just phoning it in, because they aren't, and I respect that. So I'll leave it over to you guys. Did you watch Social Knockout over the weekend? Let me know, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.